Toy Story 4 is out, and as of this taping is at a jaw-dropping but unsurprising 98% certified fresh, putting it right in line with its three predecessors, Toy Story at 100%, Toy Story 2 also at 100%, and Toy Story 3 at 98% all certified fresh. Do you know what this means, gang? If Toy Story 4's rating holds, that is going to make Toy Story the most critically acclaimed franchise in movie history. Isn't that insane? Is it worth that praise? We're going to find out. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Ellis, and welcome back to the After Show. Fair warning, if you haven't seen the movie, this is spoiler heavy, so there you go. With that being said, I have a fantastic panel to get into Toy Story 4 with here today. With us, we have two editors from Rotten Tomatoes, Jacqueline Coley and Alex Vo. Welcome back to the show, y'all.
Thank you.
And then a round of applause for them was done by the movie man, the movie Mantz himself, Mr. Scott, movie release dates Mantz.
That is correct. I can go through the release dates of all the Toy Story movies, but I won't bore you.
I know 95, and then
99,
and then
2010.
There you go. Well, I definitely knew when the fourth one came out because that's 2019. And this is a movie where there was a lot of people wondering, do we even need to make this movie? And so before we get into all these kind of conversations, I just want to start with you, Alex. Is this a fresh or rotten film in your eyes?
It's a fresh movie. As a standalone movie, it works. It's probably Pixar's funniest movie. As a continuation of a series, it's a subpar Toy Story. Probably my least favorite Toy Story.
Okay, what I heard, Scott, is that it might be the funniest movie Pixar's ever made, so I want to delve into that a little bit later, too. Fresh or rotten for you?
Big time fresh. It's one of the funniest Toy Stories movies ever made by Pixar. I liked it as a standalone film, and I liked it as the continuation of a series. A continuation that, like you said, we did not need, but we got it, and it delivers.
Okay, so we got two freshes, but kind of differing opinions within those freshes, Jacqueline. So are you contributing to that 98% as well?
Just gonna make things even more complicated. It was fresh for me as well. I'm not the person that runs to the cinema every time there's like Pixar animation, so there's a very low bar for my freshness. I will admit that. It was good. For a movie aimed at children, I was not bored. It was good.
Okay, I thought it was, I'm not quite going to go love, but I'm going to say really, really, really liked Toy Story 4. And I had the good pleasure of being at D23 a few years ago when they first announced that Toy Story 4 was going to happen. And it's a big show, and Randy Newman's out there playing piano, and you get swept up in that. Then afterwards you start thinking about, wait, we have maybe the most perfect trilogy in film history with the first three Toy Stories, so why do we want to risk going back and having that golden goose lay another egg? So Alex, was it a worthwhile venture getting back into this? It sounds like you're a little mixed on whether we needed a Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think like most people, when Toy Story 3 ended, I'm thinking like that was the perfect ending. I was not a huge fan of Toy Story 3. Toy Story 4 kind of doubled down on things I didn't like about Toy Story 3, where I felt like the toys were really starting to sort of shape the world a lot. They're kind of like affecting the plot a lot. I came into it going, right, well, what's the point in reinvesting into a story that I thought was already done? But the shift in the movie, it shifts from Forky, who I think is a pretty lousy character.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't like him at all.
Alex!
That got a reaction.
It is, right?
Alex?
Yeah. Oh, man.
What?
It confirmed my worst fear. Like, they're like, all right, come back to the Toy Story movie, reinvest. I was like, okay, what's the point? They're like, here's a spork. I'm like, why? What is
Okay,
this?
I'll let y'all defend Forky individually later on in the show, but then
it shifts to Bo Peep. And
Okay.
I think that is a story worth telling. And, Toy Story 3, she gets cast aside. She's not even in the movie. This is Toy Story 4 going, this is Pixar going, it wasn't fair to make Bo Peep just a sort of pain plot point for Woody. She needs a story, she needs a resolution, needs a conclusion, and that is worth it.
Okay, well, we need a defense for why this movie came out. It's not good enough just to say, oh, well, everybody loves Toy Story, we love Buzz and Woody. So, Jacqueline, what did this movie bring to the table that you felt was worthy of a return?
I mean, honestly, this is the most brilliant thing ever. Absolutely Toy Story 4 should happen because it did its purpose, which it set up a Toy Story universe that they can now make into television shows, maybe another movie. They managed to split up that dynamic duo of Buzz and Woody in a way to where people are still going to be okay if you have the adventures of Buzz Lightyear or you have the adventures of Woody and Bo Peep. It's brilliant. I think that it's really smart. I get maybe from a storytelling point, people are like, why do we need it? But again, low bar here on animation, brilliant. There's going to be like, your grandkids are going to be talking about the Toy Story movies because they have literally given themselves a roadmap for at least another 30 years.
Yeah, Scott, it shades of Force Awakens, really, because it's like, well, we have these old characters that we came to the theater to see. They're all split up, and now we have these new characters that we met. So did the new characters make the return worthwhile?
Okay, just to capitalize on what Jacqueline was talking about, my bar was a lot higher. I mean, I love the Toy Story movies. All the other sequels that Pixar has done, like Monsters University and the Cars sequels, Finding Dory, I don't like those movies. I didn't think that they lived up to their predecessors. But Toy Story 4 definitely does. See, I loved Toy Story 3. I thought that was the best of the bunch. And you're right, Mark, that was a perfect trilogy up there with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy is one of the greatest film trilogies of all time. And also the Before trilogy, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, brilliant. I completely disagree with you about Forky. I thought Forky was a wild, wacky character, and Forky set the tone for Toy Story 4 to be wild and wacky, a little weird. It gets a little dark and it introduces a whole bunch of new characters, Jacqueline, like you said, that carries the series forward, keeps it fresh, keeps it vibrant, makes it a Toy Story worth telling, makes this series worth continuing.
I want to stay with you for the darkness comment, too, because I think that leads to some emotional moments. And hearing people walk out of the theater where I got to see this movie, a lot of them were saying it was the most emotional of the bunch. So what moments really stood out to you, Scott?
Well, when Woody and Forky get to the antique store at the roadside carnival, so they go into the antique store and they meet Gabby and her henchmen, these ventriloquist dummies.
Which I had one when I was a kid. I had a Danny O'Day when I was a kid.
But ever since that Twilight Zone episode, The Dummy.
Yeah.
Ventriloquist dummies have scared the hell out of me, and they do scare me in this movie. And Gabby's motive, her plan, her sinister plan for what she wants to do to Woody, spoiler, steal his voice box because hers is broken, that got a little deep, it got a little dark. It was unexpected, but at the same time I embraced it because I felt like this is what's making the Toy Story series grow up, become a little more mature, become more for grown-ups, I think, than for kids. I think kids will be a little scared at this point, but I went with it, and it was another way that Toy Story 4 stood apart from the first three movies.
Yeah, and Jacqueline, the Gabby stuff, to me, is actually, ironically, what emotionally grabbed me the most is when we actually find out that, well, she does just want to be loved. She just wants to have her own human companion. So when she gets rejected, that hit me pretty hard. And then when she finds the lost girl and she helps her out, she knows this is her mission in life. Did that affect you to the point of tears?
No. Sorry. Just further confirmation. I have no heart. No, I did enjoy it though. It definitely did touch me. It just didn't drive me to the moment of tears. I thought again, I appreciate Toy Story more for how smart it is than for how much I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was really smart the way they did Gabby because it pointed out something that I think is kind of not talked about in the Toy Story. Woody had it. As far as the storied life of a toy, he had it. He had a kid who loved him. He was the favorite toy for many years. The kid even gave him a second life by giving him to someone else. In the world of toys where love is the commodity, Woody was rich and privileged and had everything in front of him. So I think it's kind of interesting the way that Gabby put it to him. It's like, look, I just want a minute of what you've had for your entire life. Now, granted, her means of achieving it were a little bit sinister and militant in those stupid ventriloquist dolls. Oh my God.
Right?
But I think it was very interesting. And then this film has a credit from Rashida Jones and her writing partner because they were originally involved in the story and then they left the story for various reasons involved in the production. But I think this is part of her fingerprints. When I look at the Little Bo Peep stuff, when I look at the Gabby stuff, I feel like her influence as a writer. She also wrote that Black Mirror episode. You can just see where she has the women. I feel like what was written through her, I could feel it jumping out and onto from the page. And
certainly a lot of comedic moments in there as well. Alex, you said that maybe it's not your favorite Toy Story movie, but certainly maybe the funniest Pixar movie of all time. What were some of the funniest comedic scenes for you?
Yeah, I think the inclusion of Key and Peele playing.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, Duck and Buddy. You can see it was genius attaching those two together, being stitched together like that, being able to play upon their sort of rapport from past, Key and Peele. Obviously, Duke Kaboom, Keanu Reeves also
great.
steals the show. And then Ducky and Bunny sort of their insane cutaway plans of how to get back the key from the antique store owner, which are just fantastic.
Yeah.
And then at the very, very end, I think a lot of people sort of forgot about this. If you stay into the very, very end of the credits, there's a little bit of a stinger there with Duke Kaboom and the Action Carls, who doesn't get his high five. There's a great moment there. And what's great is all the Action Carls are voiced by Carl Weathers, and that's my kind of joke.
Listen, Keanu Reeves, like what a moment he's having right now between John Wick 3 being way more successful than the first two movies, and his inspired cameo in Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah.
And now Duke Kaboom.
You got Cyberpunk 2077 coming out next year. Gonna be great.
And he gets to be Duke Kaboom in this. And I'll be honest with y'all, I had no idea Keanu Reeves was in the movie. I did not know. So when Duke Kaboom comes on, I'm just like, this is a funny character and he's making me laugh. No idea. I could not tell it was Keanu Reeves until after I left the theater and somebody told me that he was actually doing a voice in there. So that's actually a great point to pick up, Scott, is that when you look at this in context of the new characters, who was the standout? Was it Duke Kaboom? Was it Forky?
Oh, well, it started off as Forky, but then the interesting thing, talking about the character that really sort of ran away with the movie for me, it started off, it looked like it was going to be Forky's thing, we got to make Forky feel good about himself, that he's a toy, that he's one of us, that Bonnie loves him, obviously she does, but then the movie, for the first half of the film, I thought it was a little uneven. It didn't really have a focus. It started to go off a little bit. I'm like, where is this going? But the second half of the movie, it got better as it went along, especially when you meet all these new characters like Ducky and Bunny, and just Keanu Reeves just stole it. Even he is having an existential crisis because of his owner, that he can't make the jump. I mean, that was hilarious when he saw the head of the kid. I mean, it was so funny.
So funny, Baxter, you're not going to break Alex. He's not even a Forky fan. I mean, come on.
But Forky, I mean, listen, Tony Hale, who's phenomenal in Veep, one of the great shows of the 21st century, is so sympathetic. And he's so funny as Forky. He's neurotic and he's totally anxious. I thought it was hilarious. It was Forky itself, looking at all these toys with the bells and whistles like Buzz Lightyear and Woody. And then there's Forky and you're like, what? It was kind of wacky.
Again, how smart it is. They gave us a former LSD user toy with an anxiety issue. That is what it is. That's like this dude did way too many drugs in the 70s. And he's just not quite there.
He just wants to be in the trash can.
You know what I mean? He's not, it's all not wired, but completely anxious and neurotic and afraid of literally everything.
The other thing, Jacqueline and Mark and Alex, is this. Just like the second film and the third film, and now especially this one, here's a Pixar movie, a Toy Story movie, that is dealing with pretty existential themes about purpose and embracing change and moving on and letting go. And you have these issues, especially with defining their purpose, with characters old and new. Woody and Forky are both trying to figure out their purpose in a changing world. Woody is still hanging on to Andy, even though he's been handed off to Bonnie, and now he's off on his own here. And by the end of the film, you really see Woody revitalized. And these movies also, because they came out so far apart, they came out at different points in the lives of the moviegoers who watched them, who then passed these movies on maybe to their kids. So with each passing film, moviegoers are watching them at different stages of their lives, and they're finding new ways to relate to these movies.
If they can. But Alex, you said you really didn't relate to the character of Forky all that much. So
I wonder if I'm in Arrested Development right now, where, obviously, 1 and 2 were just, instrumental to my childhood.
I can't believe you didn't like Forky.
Here's my problem with Forky, is that, look, I have no problem with, dumb characters or stupid characters. Dumb and Dumber is I watch that movie every year.
1994.
Yeah. But my problem is when a character is so dumb or so not adapted to the world that it affects the plot. So you have, Woody has calcified in this movie so much that he sort of has this sort of, he's taking on this nobility. I have to take care of Forky. At the cost of all the other characters, of Woody, of Buzz, of Jesse, of Bullseye, of everybody else. So It's like playing. It felt like playing like a PlayStation 2 game from like 2000 where you're on an escort mission. Woody's on an escort mission with this AI who is too stupid to live, and he's constantly trying to kill himself over and over and over. I'm like, just let him go.
I mean,
Just
did I
Respect
have that?
your opinion.
I did have that thought watching the movie, just thinking like, look, if the worst happens to Forky and he ends up in a trash can that we can't find him, is this really going to break this little girl's? Is it going to ruin her kindergarten?
Wait a minute. But that is the other reason why I get into arguments with people about whether Toy Story is who it's aimed at. Forky is aimed at an 8-year-old because for an 8-year-old, Forky is the man. Forky can do no wrong. There is no toy, there is no item greater than Forky, both the real life version and what they see on the screen. It's going to be like the Minions. You're going to see Forky everywhere.
You're going to see Forky short.
Exactly. Like Forky, like Taika Waititi's going to show up at Comic-Con next year in like a Forky Disney jumpsuit. Like, I guarantee you.
My nightmare, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is about to be so. And I get why. You need that for kids.
You need the fresh blood too. Like I would go to a chain restaurant right now and eat pancakes with a Forky character. I think that'd be a lot of fun for all of us to do if Scott pays. But when we look at the old characters in this movie, though, Alex, I think you make a good point. Is that if we have to jump away from these older characters, we need newer characters to latch onto. So do you think that Woody and Buzz got the shaft a little bit, and some of these older characters that didn't get a lot of screen time? I mean, you have Rex and Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. I thought it was great being able to bring back Don Rickles' voice posthumously, but do you think that the old guard got a little not as much screen time as you would have liked?
Yeah, absolutely. I think coming into this movie, I'm like, look, all right, I'll take whatever Pixar has to offer. And you're right, like these movies mean a lot to people, but as I was watching it, like they mean different things to people in different ways. Like for a lot of people, Toy Story is about Woody. It's about Woody's story. I realized while watching it, Toy Story is about actually Woody and Buzz and Jessie. And so the fact, so when Woody is hanging out with Forky, I was like, this is an opportunity actually for Buzz to get involved. This is an opportunity for Jessie to get involved. They spend the entire time in RV. Buzz leaves for a little bit, but really he's sort of incidental, and he goes back. I was really surprised at how they sort of treated Buzz. He's like Drax. Like he has like a blank stare. Woody and Buzz have been together now for about 20
Drax from
Moonraker? No, Drax from
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
You're thinking too much.
I went
We're talking about the Beatles here, yeah.
So, Scott, do you think that we didn't get enough of particularly maybe Buzz and some of these other characters that we have come to love from the first 3 movies?
Okay, I agree, and it was very noticeable that for usually when I think of Toy Story, I think of Woody and Buzz. But in this movie, Buzz kind of took a back seat to the rest of the story and the development of some of the other characters. But I think Toy Story is a whole lot more than just about Woody and Buzz or just about Woody. These Toy Story movies are about the inevitability of change, of embracing the change, of letting go and evolving and moving forward. And that was definitely the case with the second film, the third film, and especially this 4th movie. I know that's way too grown up, but that's why, Jacqueline, with you, I think these movies, as they grow and evolve, they're a little more for grown-ups every time.
Well, something that I know is going to be lighting up the comment section is who is your favorite new character? And before we say goodbye to this particular segment, Jacqueline, I want the final gavel to go to you. Your favorite new character and an older character that you would have liked to have seen more of.
Oh, God. See, this is what
I'll give you some new
You get
characters.
the girl that says she doesn't like run to animation to try to remember the names of toys.
I'll give you Ducky and Bunny.
No,
I'll give you
I got
Forky.
Ducky and Bunny.
I'll give you Gabby.
No, I got it. The
Creepy ventriloquist.
new character I can remember because it's Ducky and Bunny without question. Jordan Peele, Key and Peele. Is honestly the best thing that ever happened to Toy Story, in my opinion.
It was the best thing Buzz did in this movie was
Yes.
introduce us to Ducky and
Yes,
Bunny.
to Ducky and Bunny and that zip tie, everything that introduced them to the world. Because I do think they can pop up again. I was really lamented that they did not get both of them to do The Lion King, to do Timon and Pumbaa. Like, no offense to Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen, but that to me was like the perfect pairing. But we'll see what happens. They were the best ones. Old character, I'd like to see more of. The dog, maybe.
Oh,
Slinky
Slinky
Dog.
Dog.
Slinky
Slinky
Dog.
He
Dog.
was
Yeah.
cool. I was
Yeah.
down with that one. Honestly, though, look, let's talk about this, though. For the first time in a Toy Story movie, the commodity was not love from a child. I thought that was really interesting because normally it's like, we got to get Andy to love me, or Andy loves Buzz more than he loves me, or Jessie, she didn't love me at all. This one, Woody at the end of it stands true in himself to be like, no, I'm going to have a life and a love and an existence outside of a kid. I just think that was really interesting because you're right, it's about change, but more importantly, when the change is not what you expected it to be, when your life literally turns out completely different than expected.
Yeah, so I think we're all taking a cue from Bo Peep here, where it's like we're toys are going to get more independent and maybe see if we have more adventures. Before we get to that question, I want to bring up our next segment, which is how great is Toy Story historically? We mentioned the Tomatometer scores are off the charts. There's only one franchise, as a matter of fact, that competes with Toy Story for the best ranked movies according to the Tomatometer. Jacqueline, do you know what it is? Okay, Scott knows what it is. Alex, Jacqueline, anybody out there, you want to guess?
Is it the
I think
Before
he was
trilogy?
going to say what he said, Before trilogy.
It is the Before trilogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have this go. Before Sunrise is 100%. Before Sunset is 95%. And Before Midnight is 97%. So that's really good. Do you think that Toy Story with this new incarnation, Scott, is going to leap past the Before franchise as possibly the greatest in history?
I think it'll be equal because after Before Sunset came out in 2004, no one knew that a Before Midnight was going to happen 9 years later. And after Toy Story 3 came out in 2010, everyone fully expected that to be it because it wrapped it up really good, and here we are 9 years later with Toy Story 4. So having said that, do I think that a Toy Story 5 is plausible and possible? Yes. Do I think that'll happen maybe 9 or 10 years down the line? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to get another Before movie 9 years after Before Midnight? Yes. And the reason why both of these series works so well is because of the tremendous amount of time in between films. People are at different stages of their lives when a new installment comes out, and they relate to these movies in different ways. That's what I loved about Toy Story 4, about just, like you said, Jacqueline, about the rug being pulled out from under you and having to adapt to change. Life doesn't turn out the way you want it to, but you got to go with it, and that's what I loved about this movie. I might not have felt that way 10 years ago, but I do today.
And if you look at the lineage of Toy Story, first coming out in 95 and then this one 2019, Jacqueline, do you think it's worthy of the title most critically acclaimed franchise in history?
Look, I think it is definitely probably yes, but I want to again make it a distinction that I look at something like the Before series as more, I would say, still so than something like Toy Story. It's like you got kids to enjoy an animated movie. And when the critics are judging it, they're judging it for that. They're not judging it for some edgy avant-garde, take a huge risk and have it pay off. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you look like a film like Get Out, where literally Jordan Peele went completely in a different direction for horror and revitalized, rechanged it, like really put his stamp on the genre, and it's like what ended up at like 98% fresh on the Tomatometer. That to me is a huge achievement. Getting kids to enjoy a kids movie and make it an enjoyable kids movie. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a different bar.
It's an interesting point. You already have a leg up when you're trying to entertain kids, primarily if you have cute and cuddly things that are easily merchandised. I don't know that there's a lot of Before Sunset, Before Sunrise toys out there.
Right.
I don't know that I'm waiting for that on, Ethan Hawke.
I had Before Sunrise Pogs.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it would, or at least not me, when I was doing it as a critic, I wouldn't sit down and judge Get Out the same way I'm going to judge Toy Story. Like, they're just two separate movies in the judging.
Alex, how does that hit your ear if I say that Toy Story is the most critically acclaimed franchise in movie history?
Yeah, I think it makes sense because, like, again, the way the themes change depending on what stage of life you're in and how it hits you, that's important. But taking Before series, I don't think it's going to go beyond the trilogy because, the first movie opens with that bickering couple, and then at the end of Before Midnight, or at Before Midnight, they're sort of that couple, So it has that sort of.
They're also running out of times in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Before 4:30, like what's the next title
Before
going to be?
brunch.
Toy Story made it very easy. You can just do
Before
Toy Story
Twilight.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if you are the Before franchise, or you're even like something that's a little bit more popcorny, like an MCU or a DCU, sorry, comic book fans, I know you're more than popcorn movies. Star Wars, Star Trek, I'll throw in there, the Hobbit movies, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth. What can all these other franchises, Scott, learn from what Toy Story has done?
Character. It's all about the characters. It's all about the story, but it's all about the characters. Characters that you love and that you grow to love more over the years, because the characters change and grow and evolve at the same time that you also change and grow and evolve. And that's the thing. The Toy Story films, the before movies, they never repeated themselves. They took chances. This one, Toy Story 4, it took chances. It was a little darker. It got a little weird. And I mean that, I say that in a good way, because it made this movie stand on its own, but yet still felt like the continuation of a series where all the movies were great. But it's all because, we like the new characters, and it makes it fresh and vibrant, but we love the old characters too. We want to see where they are at their life while we're looking at where we are in ours.
Yeah, Alex, if you are a sports team, because I'm allowed one sports metaphor per show, if you get into the game film room and you're watching Toy Story and you're any one of these other big franchises, what's the takeaway? What are you trying to incorporate from Toy Story into your movies?
Yeah, I would agree. Character. Thinking about where you could take the character from one place to another, from one movie to another. Thinking about how much weight can a series take in with all these new characters, but it's also staying true to what audiences believe in. But again, I feel like Toy Story 4 kind of veered off a little bit off of that.
Yeah. So do you agree with the character sentiment? That's what these other franchises can kind of take the ball and run with it, is that you have to not only give us characters we care about, but also give them at different stages in their lives or careers, and we glom onto everything that they're doing.
I'll make it a stipulation. I think that you can learn from them as far as a long-running franchise, and I think the thing, because I don't think every movie can learn from them on this, but again, if you're thinking about doing sequels, this idea that you can kill your darlings later on in the franchise. So this idea that and something maybe by accident or on purpose, Little Bo Peep wasn't involved in Toy Story 3, so they kind of killed that darling. They didn't try to wedge her in there in places that she didn't fit, which then gave them this opportunity to write this entire film on Toy Story 4. So they had to be able to do that. And then in this film, killing your darlings would be breaking up Buzz and Woody. That had to be a conversation with people. And so I think that's the lesson you should learn, is that don't get so wrapped up in the rules that you created for these characters, and don't be afraid in breaking them if the story tells you to.
All right, I don't know if we're ever getting another Before movie, but I will put a lot of money on the fact that we are going to get a Toy Story 5 at some point down the road. I think we're all in agreement that we're getting a new Toy Story movie somewhere. I don't even think it's going to take 9 years like you do, Scott. I think we could get a new Toy Story 5 announced sooner rather than later.
Interesting, okay.
I'm more keeping an eye out on that Toy Story on Disney Plus, because I feel like that is going to be the next thing that we probably see.
Yeah, they're already doing shorts, or they've done shorts in between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So I agree. Toy Story 4 feels like a Toy Story universe movie, as opposed for me a Toy Story.
I want a Forky short. I want a Forky.
You're going to get a Forky. Apparently on Disney Plus, it's Forky Answers Questions. So you're going to get a lot more Forky, which, Alex, I guess you're going to have to avoid that part of Disney
I
Plus.
guess so, yeah.
He's going to have to go there for The Mandalorian. But
yeah.
I think that you can take a note from what Star Wars is looking what they're doing with Disney Plus, is that we're going to use Disney Plus to launch shows that are going to keep the galaxy alive. And then we're going to have our standalone movies come out, or maybe another saga movie down the road. It could be the same thing with Toy Story, where we get a lot of individual characters that have their short-run shows, and then we come back to Toy Story 5 years down the line.
Here's what happens in Toy Story 5. Just like Andy passed off the toys to Bonnie, Bonnie is going to pass the toys off to Andy's kid.
Because Andy went to college in 3.
Right.
And so now Andy...
And it's going to take place a few years down the line.
Yeah.
And, it's going to get time for Bonnie. Bonnie's going to grow up. She's going to pass on the toys to the next person. And it's just by happenstance, it's going to be Andy's kids. Full circle, the circle of life.
All right, that's a very good pitch for Toy Story 5 we just got. So, Alex and Jacqueline, I want to close up shop here by getting the individual standalone character that you would most like to see on Disney Plus. And I know your answer is not Forky.
I would love to see more Buzz. Buzz had that cartoon in the late '90s, which was not that great, but more space adventures, more Buzz. Now that Buzz is essentially sharing co-lead duties with Jessie, kind of seeing where, maybe reestablishing his character back to part 2 levels, and then kind of seeing where we go from there.
All right, that'd get some eyeballs on it, Jacqueline. How about you? Your character for Disney Plus in the Toy Story universe.
It's not a character. I have the show. I would like a variety series with Ducky and Bunny, where they have musical interlude breaks, like the old Gem music videos. It'd be 1.5 minute breaks, and they would come in. It would literally be part Carson, part Muppet Babies, part Gem, the animated series,
Right.
Ducky and Bunny. Disney, make it happen.
I don't know who gave you the key to my heart, but I would like it back. That is an incredible show. That's going to get adults watching that too.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely an adult driven.
Scott, you gave a great pitch for the new movie. Alex, you did a great job with Disney Plus. Jacqueline's pitch is the one that I'm buying.
There
Unfortunately,
you go.
none of them are coming to pass just yet, but you do have a Forky franchise to look forward to on Disney Plus, and somewhere down the line is going to be Toy Story 5. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us on this episode of The After Show. Thanks to our lovely panel, and thanks to all of you for checking it out along with us. Make sure you comment right now. Let us know your thoughts on Toy Story 4. Who is your favorite new character? Which old character did you want to see more of? What is your pitch for a new Toy Story movie, a new Disney Plus show featuring Toy Story? We want to hear all of it right now. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell. It's going to give you a nice little alert next time an after show is coming your way. Until then, I'm Mark Ellis, and there's a snake in my boot.